Imagine a world with no cold calling. A world where companies don't sell your data to other companies who want to pester you. At G4 Claims, we don't cold call and we don't buy a single lead from data companies. Oh, and if you're due any compensation from your car accident, you pay nothing to us at all. For full accident management support, including motor replacement, repairs and personal injury compensation claims, just search G4 Claims today. For help the way you want it.
Hi and welcome to this week's episode of the DW podcast. I am joined by Luke La Volpe. Thanks very much for coming on, Luke.
Cheers for having me.
How are you getting on?
I know, bad, surviving. I'd love to say it's all sunshine and rainbows, but it's not.
It must be such a crazy time for you, man, because last year, don't get me wrong, you were nominated by everyone under the sun as being, the next big thing in 2020, and then 2020 disappeared and it's back to square one almost.
Well, it feels a bit surreal again, because I think everybody was kind of thinking that at the bells of New Year's there's going to be a big magic wand that got fucking woven, and then we're all going to be back to happy as Larry. But that's tough, man. But it gives me time to just sit and write songs and kind of get ready for what could be coming. But it is frustrating, definitely, man. You'll be the same doing your podcast, stay home and that as well.
That's it. Don't get me wrong. Like, if this is the way that we need to do it, we'll find a way. But I'd much rather be in a room with somebody talking to them. It's so much easier. And you'll see the exact thing. Before we started recording, you were saying that you've been doing like songwriting classes over Zoom.
Right.
Like, what is that all about?
Yeah, it's weird. It's just like we were saying there. It's just these you get put in a Zoom with two total strangers you've never met before, and you've got to try and convey an emotion through a song that it's hard to convey emotion through a screen. It's like some weird Black Mirror episode living in, man. It's like never thought this would be happening. You've got to do. You've got to keep the brain ticking.
Who is it that you're writing with just now?
I've done quite a bit. I've done some way. It was Jamie M. Commons and Steve Booker. It was pretty good writers doing in London. So I was meant to be in London this week,
right,
doing the writing with them. But obviously can't travel anywhere because they're a bomb scared in there. But I've been doing quite a bit with quite a lot of people. Just try to find what the next sound's going to be. So it's quite good having this time to. It's bad having no gigs, but at the same time it's good having no gigs because there's no pressure to be having these tunes ready for a gig because it's not there. But it's good to have the time just to get your head straight and kind of just explore different kinds of music, kind of sounds.
Have you got a sound that you want to be working towards? Is there something in your mind that you think, this is the route that I should really be going down?
Not really, because when I first started, like with my band, it was kind of like a rhythm and blues kind of road I had an idea to go on doing. But then I kind of realised that the main culture, I'm not really interested in just listening to old rockabilly, like 50s, 60s stuff. So it's kind of evolved into loads of different stuff. But I don't like being pigeonholed in a genre because then you start writing for that genre and then you kind of lose your creative instincts. So it's just whatever comes out will come out.
It's interesting you mentioned that rhythm and blues stuff there because a couple of years ago I put on a wee gig in Motherwell called Motherwell Makes Music, and I remember you just came through and played, and it was totally a rhythm and blues type set, and you were brilliant, you were amazing. But I think for then, you can see how much that you've grown as an artist, even in just a short period of years. It's took it to a whole new level.
It's good. It's good just to try different things. I feel like this lockdown's probably aged me another 10 years today, so who knows what's going to come out the other side of it. But really, every session I go in with basically no ideas. I feel like if you go in with an idea, you start writing to that idea and you kind of lose yourself in it. I think it's better just going in with absolutely nothing and just seeing what comes out. That's what's good about doing it with loads of different writers is they've all got their own styles and I've got my own style, so it's good to mash the two things together and you get something totally different every time.
Do you find that hard though? Like, do you ever think like, right, I'm getting in here and I've got something in my mind that I want to do and they're trying to steer you in another direction?
Oh, well, don't get me wrong, there's some sessions you go into, I'm not going to name who they are because that'd be ridiculous, but some sessions you go into, you're just like, why am I doing this with this guy? Because you just know getting what I'm doing. But that's all part of it. For a long time, I was totally precious about my songs. That I wouldn't ever want to share my ideas with somebody. I was like, these are my songs. What you've no idea about them. But then I started using it as like kind of like a therapy. I'd go one of the best songwriting sessions I had was with a guy called Ian Archer, who he done like Jake Bugg's album, and he used to play in Snow Patrol. He was a guitarist for Snow Patrol and everything. I went in and met him. He's an Irish guy. He was brand new, and we just sat. I remember we sat and spoke for 3 hours, and I was like, "When are we going to start writing a song here?"
Aye.
And then he was like, he clicked the space bar on the computer, and I was like, he's like, just recorded the full 3 hour conversation that we had.
Shut up.
And he was just picking out bits of sentences that I had said, like stories in my life, and he was just like, right, there's a song there, let's start writing a song about that. And I was just like, fucking hell, that's
incredible.
great way to do it. So that's probably the best session I've had there.
But see, to go into a studio or into a room with somebody that's got that experience, you must be thinking, well, he's worked with some big artists and he's been a big artist himself. They must see something in me.
Oh, definitely. At first you're kind of like imposter syndrome, like should I be here? But then you realise all these artists have kind of taken off and became huge, or just normal people. They're no like mad superheroes. Like they're just like us. They'll feel the effects of what's going on as well. But it's very humbling to get in with people like that, and they've taken the time to sit with me. So it's good.
For folk that don't know you, look, I'll let you introduce yourself, I suppose, but you're a singer-songwriter for West Lothian, Bathgate, Scotland, and what is going on with Bathgate and West Lothian? It's like, I remember being younger, and this is going back maybe 10 years, and obviously people watching or listening to this. When I played in a band 10 years ago, still the same band, we used to go through to Bathgate, and the gigs were phenomenal, and it's just like, I don't know how I'd describe Bathgate. It's like a former mining town, tiny population. Like you would never expect it to have such a vibrant music scene. And since then, I mean,
right,
aye, on you go.
I think just like you're talking about, obviously you played in the Battersea for that. Like my older brother Jordan, he played in a band called the Harringtons, and that was kind of like when I was growing up, and like Lewis Capaldi and the Snuts, like when they were growing up, that kind of indie scene was here in West Lothian. Like there was like places like the Attic and like the Room at the Top. There was like huge, like big good venues here that people would come to, and I think that's why now the West Lothian scene is so vibrant and so like people are taking over essentially. It's just because they all had that buzz, the small town buzz that was gigs, but there isn't much gigs here anymore. I don't know what the reason is for that, but all the music's in Glasgow, I suppose. But I think we obviously looked up to the people in the indie scene and thought we want to do that, and now it's our time to come up and do it. So that's good.
It has been a journey because I go back to the times and there was the band that jumps out for me that were for West Lothian was Dead Sea Souls, and they were doing really good on a Scottish level, and they were selling out King Tut's, consecutive nights, and everybody was looking at them thinking they're amazing. But then to think, that was potentially 7-8 years ago, and now, like you say, bands that have watched them, or artists that have watched them and went on to the next thing. There's yourself, there's the Snuts, there's obviously Lewis Capaldi. It's like, I just don't get how it's all came for this wee place.
It's wild. Like I think once you see, like once other artists see somebody like Lewis going up or the Snuts going up, and how fast they took off, it's kind of like, well, it's possible for somebody for this small time to do it. So why not? Like there's so many good bands here, so many good acts. But I don't know what the actual reason is, but I'm happy to be involved in it. Like
there must be something in the water. That was such a
there's the classic like.
But do you know what? Back to that scene though, what really strikes home for me, look, is the fact that you all support each other. It's not as if there's people trampling on each other to get to the top. It's like you've played with the Snuts, you've supported Lewis many times. It's as if you've come through that as pals and says, do you know what, we're going to look out for each other and make sure that if I can give them a hand up, I will.
Well, that's it. I don't understand anybody that treats music as a competition, because it's definitely not a competition. It's not like a sport. Like the only way you could actually compete in it is on charts, and even at that, what's the point? But all these people that are in music, they're all doing the same thing as you. They're all gone through the same trials and tribulations, the same hardship. So why would you pit yourself against each other when you can help each other? It's not going to do anything good for your career. being a prick to anybody. Like,
do you ever feel a bit of pressure when you see, you know, bands like the Snuts or even Lewis coming into the same place, same area, and doing so well? Or do you see it as like that's something that I can aspire to?
Maybe at first I was severely jealous, I'd say, just because you're like, what am I doing wrong here? But everybody's time comes, everybody's shot comes at some point. So, but I don't think there's any pressure because I know I'm good enough at what I do. I know I'm more than capable of doing what they've done. So there's no pressure. I just enjoy doing it, and I'm just speaking to some people today about where the next gigs are going to be, and it still seems a bit far away, which is quite sad to me because that's the stuff I live for, is the live gigs. And so I don't know. There's no pressure. I'm actually chapping at the bit to play in front of anybody.
I think that what goes under the radar as well is the hard work that you've all put in. I was on a podcast, no my own, it was a different podcast last week, and I was talking a wee bit about the Snuts, and I remember talking to Jack when they played King Tut's for the first time, and he was saying, you know, like, we really, really want to get to the top, and I think that we will. But he's like, we do this 5-6 nights a week, you know, and we're sitting about doing nothing. Like, you've all dedicated your life to it, and I think people just see, you know, like, for example, yourself getting tipped last year for, you know, best breakthrough acts, or, you know, this is some of the papers or whatever it said, you know, this is the next Capaldi coming for West Lothian, and they don't realise that you've been doing this since you were what age? 18, 17, maybe even younger?
Well, even younger now. Like, I think I started playing in pubs and I was like 13. So like, I'm 9-year-old started learning the guitar. But that's what, like you're saying, a lot of people don't see. What people see is the music you release, the photographs you get taken on a nice poster, you look all good in that. Nobody sees the hardship or the pain or the sheer dedication it's got to take to get to this point. It's all well and good saying, "Oh, West Lothian's like a hotbed of music." It's not just like luck. It's not. It's pure hard work. These people are. I myself, we're all working every day, even through all this, which is impossible to get your band together to record or write. It's like literally almost illegal. You've still got to find a way to try and do it, man. It's all hard work.
And I think through this as well, like, not to get too political, but I feel that, you know, musicians in the music industry's been totally abandoned through this. You know, people like yourself that is on the cusp of really, really creating something special. It's almost like everything's been delayed and you've been pushed to the back.
No, that's it. We're getting, again, you see the thing the other day about UK government denying the right for musicians to have visas, which is like, we're just getting shafted left, right and centre, everything, absolutely everything. Even at the very start, when we done the Sopathon sing-along thing to try and raise money for the venues, it's like somebody like me and all the acts that got involved, they're having to stand up and do it themselves because the government aren't doing their job, pulling their weight. So it's mad, and it's mental because it's a £5.8 billion industry for the UK, and they're all talking about fishing being the big industry. That's 1.8 billion. So what is going on? I don't understand what's going on.
Send the musicians in to do the Brexit talk. That's what you should have done.
What? Be there and talking. I'd be the.
Do you find that you're ever? I mean, maybe this is unfair to say. I feel as if your songs they're really for the heart. Like, do you ever feel that you're politically inspired, or what's your writing process like?
Definitely, like my songwriting is just like, it's always been, I write a song when I can't express the emotion for something that's happened in my life or something that's happening around about me. So there's definitely political stuff in some of my songs, but they're hidden so that I didn't get in trouble for it. But it's just all about releasing emotion. It's just like I said before, it's a therapy. Songwriting's a therapy for me. It's like sitting down with a therapist and getting it all off me. But I'm just laying it into a sheet of music and just firing it out. If people like it, they like it. If they didn't, I'll write another one. Just.
I noticed that you were talking to me last year. Obviously, you had so much that we'll go into that was postponed or cancelled. But I noticed the session that you done for the session that you done at SWG3 for the Scotland song.
Oh, aye, that was
for a view from the terrace. I was stumbling there.
View from the terrace. Aye, that was an interesting one. They asked me just like, you play a football song, and I'm like an Aberdeen fan, so. I didn't usually go about shouting about it, to be honest. It's not really in it to be proud of. But
it could be worse, mate. You could support Motherwell.
oh, is that his fault? Well, we'll just keep that quiet.
I love how you support and a big laugh after it, like you're so man.
So I had it bad, but and then I just thought I'll just do a Scotland song because the Euro qualifiers were coming up. So I thought Caledonia, and then I seen that Guy Fatherson had already done Caledonia, so I thought, can I do that? Then I seen the We Have a Dream tune, and it's actually my manager sent me. I was like, what about this? And I was listening to it, like, how the fuck am I going to sing that, man? It's like spoken word poem and like bagpipes and everything. I was just like, so we just went for it. On the day we turned up, we asked the boy, Cammy Barnes for Red Hot Chili Peppers. He got a couple of boys for Red Hot Chili Peppers to come, and we just winged it on the day. And it turned out pretty good
as well.
But we'd done that a couple of days before the game, and when we posted it up, there was loads of people that were like, oh, you should never have messed with the original song and that. And I was like, I wasn't trying to steal the thunder of the original song. So I was like, can you reply to folk? I just like try to noise them up. So I get a buzz off of folk try to give me jip, man. That's the best part of my day. And then watched the game with my brothers later that night, and we 1-0 up at 88th minute or whatever it was, and then they scored the equaliser. And I honestly felt my full soul leave my body. I was just like, what have I done to my career here? I'm just going to get this for the rest of my life. But thankfully, won in penalties. But dear me, man, it was a tough night for me.
The response that you've got, I mean, you touch on these people that were maybe giving you a bit of jip, but I thought the response was brilliant. You know, everybody was really...
The response was great, but you never remember the positive responses. You always remember the negative ones. They're the ones that stick out. But see, if you're getting negative responses, that means you've done something right, definitely, because you've touched a nerve on somebody.
See if people are talking about you in a negative light, it's because they're noticing you. You know,
exactly.
See, if you were doing something and people were just ignoring it, it would be much worse.
Exactly. You've watched the video, so it's your fault, man.
It's funny that you changed all the words as well, didn't you? Like, because the original is talking about, is it Ali McCoist and whatever else, and the players that were around it. You had John McGinn in there and whatever else, didn't you?
It was like John McGinn who usually takes them, but I found out later on John McGinn doesn't even take penalties, so totally messed that up. Somebody commented that, it's like brilliant performance, but John McGinn doesn't take the penalties, mate.
The detail that people look into.
I know, give me a break, man.
What was your highlights of last year then? Because did you play that show with Lewis in Aberdeen just before?
No, I never. It was Mark Sharp, another band from here that played that. We were. It's mad because all the months have kind of like merged into one. I can't even remember what year I've been playing. I think we were meant to play with Lewis somewhere, and then it got called off because of COVID. I think it was just after the Aberdeen one, but I think we're booked to play with him this year in Lothian, down near Blackpool. But who knows what's going to happen with that? Hopefully it happens. But this year, I don't know. The start of the year was like when I was first going down to London doing these songwriting trips, and I'd put a King Tut's gig up for sale as I was coming home to London, and by the time I got off the train into Bathgate, it had sold out, so I was total buzzing. And then a couple of weeks after that, we were like practicing. Me and the band were practicing in a rehearsal room, and it was just when COVID was kind of like a whisper, like folk were just starting to talk about it. And I was saying to the boys in the band, like joking, I was like, imagine this is a big momentum, big chance here in the full world shuts down. And it was like 3 days later, global lockdown.
You jinxed it. It's your fault.
It's all my fault.
I remember.
Here come the hate. I'm going to get the haters now for that one. Everybody's going to be on my page.
I remember the buzz around that King Tut's gig because it sold out in, what was it, 12 hours or something? Maybe not even that.
It was mad. I was absolutely cheesing about it, and then went from up there to straight down the cliff.
Have you put another date in for it?
I will. I think it's sometime in the summer now, but again, that could change. You don't know what's going to happen. But
it's such a shame, isn't it? It's such a shame.
It's going to be class though. When you can go back, it's going to be tremendous. Like the first gig back, especially if that is your first gig back in King Tut, it's going to be It's pretty superb. Like,
I just think like there's so many bands that have, like you says, they've used this opportunity like yourself to write new tunes, get better and tighter at what they've already had there, and music's going to be incredible when it's back.
Exactly. Everybody's sitting poised, ready to go. There's going to be some kind of mad rush though. I think. See when like if they say right, gigs are going to be back on such and such month. All these bands haven't been practicing. Nobody's been able to get in a practice room, so it's going to be an interesting wee blowing the cobwebs off moment. The first gig back, like everybody's going to be panic stations,
freezing on the spot.
Getting all the words in it.
You had Transmit lined up as well, didn't you?
Aye, we're still meant to be on for Transmit. Well, meant to be doing it last year, but obviously it's been moved to this year. But I can see gigs like that going forward. I think outdoor gigs are probably safe. The indoor gigs are, I don't know, to be honest. I didn't want to be negative about it because I didn't want to put people off. But I assume it's going to be a wee bit longer than what we think it is. It all depends on the trusty government getting these vaccines out.
Aye,
They're good for their word there.
I'll tell you this, you'll be last in the queue. You're too young and beautiful for it.
Okay. I'm supposedly healthy, get what I mean?
They've obviously not seen your tour and drinking schedule.
Okay, exactly. All the fags and the rest of it.
What's your, so you're at this stage just now, like, right, where you're selling out King Tut's, you're playing big festivals, and is there a difference between shows like that? Because obviously Tut's is your headline show, it's quite a small venue, but you've packed it out, and then you're going on to these stages where you're playing in front of thousands. What's your preference? Or is it, this is part of the journey?
Well, I've only really, I've played a few big gigs, but like the one we played with Lewis in Princess Street was like a huge turning point for me. It was like 9,000 people or something, and that was kind of was like, when I was like, whoa, I want to do this every time. Like they won.
Yourself before it?
Nah, man, there's a weird story with that because I think I've told this story about 20 times to newspapers. They all love this one, but I was meant to be. I was working in this warehouse like 12-hour shifts every day, and they asked me I asked them if I could have dates because I was supporting Lewis in Princess Street and I was supporting Tom Grennan in St Luke's. So I asked to have the gigs off, and I had like 3 other gigs, and they said no for like days off. So I had to quit my job to go to the gigs. Went to the gigs, and I was meant to be. My girlfriend was moving to Australia. Like 2 years meant to be going to Australia together.
Oh, no.
And that gig with Lewis Capaldi was going to be the last gig. So we went to the gig, and when I played it, as soon as I came on stage playing, I was like, in my head was like, I'm not going to Australia, I'm staying here. So she went to Australia, I stayed here, but she's back now, so it's fine. But it was a big turning point in my life where I was like, this is what I want to do, and I've not had a job since that day, which I don't know if that's a positive or a negative thing for me. But
it's a positive because it's shown that you've got a talent there that you can't ignore.
Mm-hmm. But it's just I'd say the big gigs are like what I want 100%. Especially when I prefer the shows when it's not your headline show, when it's like you're just a festival slot and new people are seeing you, because they're the ones that make a difference. Is when you captivate an audience that are already into you. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean?
Without getting too personal, what was the thoughts after that show? And you said to the girlfriend, "I'm not going to Australia."
She was brand new, but I think there was a time where it was tough, like obviously, but she was sound it and she came back, so we're all good.
By the way, you're lucky because I could imagine there'd be many boyfriends or girlfriends or wives or husbands that would be like, lucky. That's it, no chance.
I would have kicked me out the door, like, definitely.
That's an amazing story, by the way.
That's mad.
What was it when with Tom Grennan? I had him on the podcast a while back, and he played in Newcastle at the O2. It was part of, what's the name of the festival? Hit the North.
Ah, yeah.
And it's a cracking wee festival. It's kind of like a multi-venue festival across loads of different pubs and clubs in Newcastle. And had a chat with him before it, and then the show that he put on was brilliant. He's such a performer. He's
some singer. Like, so the reason we played that was we won it was a play to play competition. So it was just like, I got down to the last 3 people, and they asked for an interview sitting on the stage. So I'm not that very I'm not a talkative guy, so we were interviewing the 3 years and they're all saying how great it would be to play and that. And then they asked me, like, how would it feel to play? I was just like, that'd be good. And then, then they accepted us for some reason. But hearing him in the sound check was incredible, man. He's got some voice. I don't think he gets the credit for his voice, like, how good he is. And like you say, he's some showman as well. Comes at the dressing room like a train, man, when he's ready to go.
Does he, aye? It's funny, when we were chatting to him, he was just sitting there wearing a trackie, like a grey trackie, and then when he was on stage, he was wearing like a bright purple suit, like total showman.
He's good. Nice guy as well. Spot on guy.
Another one I wanted to ask you about was Kyle Faulkner. I know that he's collaborated last year to help out the NHS. I thought that was amazing.
So that came about, that was during the Southampton sing-along, so it was just like a online festival that we were raising money for Music Venues Trust, and Kyle was playing on it, and I just sent my message. So I've supported Kyle quite a few times when I was maybe 15 or 16, like just at acoustic gigs. And I've just messaged him saying, "Oh, you're sounding great," because he's another guy who's one of the best singers about, and his songwriting's tremendous as well. And I just said, "Oh, sounding good," and then he was like, "Oh, I've got a song for you. It would sound brilliant." I was like, "All right." So
no way.
He just fired me a couple of verses and part of a chorus for Terribly Beautiful, and then I had it was like this most stressful 5 weeks of my life, because we were in lockdown at this point, and I had a MacBook laptop and a Guitar Hero mic, and that's all I had to record this song. And I managed to, so if you listen to the vocals on Terribly Beautiful, that's done with a Guitar Hero mic.
Is it really?
The USB. So I don't know how it sounded so good. I know, it's mad. I just gave away my biggest secret there. Everybody's going to be buying them on eBay tonight. But
that money in studio is an expensive mic, so you just need Guitar Hero.
You didn't need it. Listen, you didn't need it.
That's amazing.
But and then there is actually it was originally a duet, the two of us on it. Him singing his parts and me singing my parts. But for various reasons it got changed. But I still got the recording the duet, so I don't know if I might bring it out at some point on a LP or something. But I think it sounds better than the original, to be honest.
Why did he not want to do it himself? Because that's, not only is it an honour or a compliment, that he thinks that you'd be great on it, but it's like giving away his art in a way, isn't it? The guy's like, he writes songs constantly. He's got a library of songs, that guy, and I've got a feeling that he'll be bringing out some stuff soon. But he's unreal. He's another guy that can just surpass his genre. So he just writes songs. He doesn't box himself into a genre. He can sing in it, write in it, which is I love. I think he's brilliant. I've always been a big fan of The View, and his solo stuff's incredible as well.
Well, they were the first. The View were the first band I ever seen when I was 12. The first gig I ever went to. So it's quite weird to be releasing a song that's co-written by Kyle on it. Quite a mad wee full circle.
That's really nice.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that you might bring it out on an LP. What's your plans? Because I could be wrong here, look, but I think I read that you're looking to bring out a full-length album.
Well, what's my plans is the key question, because I have no idea. I'm not the type of guy that makes plans. I just kind of go with what's happening, and right now is the best time to just be gone with the wind. But I don't know. I'm just right now. Of course, at some point it'll be an album, but I mean, it's probably far away. But it's just like I was saying earlier. I've got the time now to write and just get as many songs down, if they're good or bad or indifferent. Just get them written down and record them. So then, when the time comes for an album, if I get picked up with a label or whatever happens, I'll have them ready to go. Because the key in being a musician is having songs written. Like, it's easy as that. That's what you need to constantly be doing, is writing songs. Because without songs, you're not a musician, basically.
Absolutely. And if a label comes to you and says, right, I like these 2 singles that you've brought out, what's your back catalogue, and you've got nothing sitting there, then you're fucked, aren't you?
Yeah, you're just like, right, we'll see you later then. That'll be what it'll be. But hopefully an album. An album's the way. But who knows, because I don't know if people even listen to albums now. I don't know how it goes. I'm like the worst social media or worst technological guy in the world, man. I just release songs, see what happens to it.
Do you do all your own social media and stuff? Or do you get managed?
I do majority, I do like the majority, I'll say. But if there's stuff that needs to go up, there's obviously my manager much better at me than putting stuff up and like advertising things better than I am. Because if I'm just like, oh, listen to this, nobody's going to listen to it. So.
Yeah, you mentioned your brother earlier, being an inspiration as well and playing in the Harringtons before that. And you come from a musical family, if I'm right, because your granddad was a singer as well.
He was like a singer in the military band, and he played the euphonium. It's a big brass instrument.
Right.
But he's got Alzheimer's now, so it's quite sad to see him gone now he's gone. But just like I've said this to lots of people as well, it's just music. It's wild how much it brings people back. Music, you can play a song to him and he knows all the lyrics, knows everything, can tell you about a night he had back in 1970 or whatever it is. So it's pretty wild music, but I think that's the last thing that goes in your brain.
That's a shame, isn't it? I remember my gran before she passed away, and she'd like kind of mild Alzheimer's dementia, and as you says, it's like you could ask them what they had for their breakfast and they couldn't tell you. But then she was in a care home towards the end of her life, and there was a wee guy that came in on the Friday, and he'd play guitar and he'd sing along, and every single guy and woman in there, they couldn't remember anything. They're singing every single word.
It's wild, isn't it?
Aye, so special.
It's absolutely mental.
It must be quite a privilege for him, though, even seeing you, or even your brother, seeing how well that you're doing.
Aye, definitely. I've got a good group of people around me that are all buzzing about it. But it's just, like, even with the Scottish Music Award, it was sad that we couldn't get a night at the awards, because I went to the awards the year before to collect Lewis's award because he couldn't go. He was too lazy to go. But,
is that what it was? Was he no on tour?
Nah, he was dead, sir. I think he was dead, sir.
You're chucking him under the bus, man.
I've got to try and struggle with this Lewis Capaldi's pal title. I need to get rid of it. I need to become a nemesis at some point.
You should have a fight with him, charity boxing match or something.
He's actually texted me that before and said that as a laugh.
Oh, like, stop fucking pretending you're my pal.
No, he said, let's come on. I think it was, I said, what is it I said to him? I can't remember what it was, but I said something about him in a paper, like jokingly, saying that I was like going to overtake him or something. And then he texted me saying, you fucking chucked me under the bus, charity boxing match. Yeah, it was like something along these lines.
You were just getting on to it there, the Scottish Music Awards. Obviously, the year before you went and collected his award, and then you said, I'll be back for mine.
Aye, cheeky wee boy, innit? Cheeky thing to say, but it worked. Planted that seed early, and it just worked. But it was. I got to obviously go to the night out for collecting Lewis's award, but it would have been good to have my family there and that, and have a table and got pissed for my one. But who knows? Might be there next year and get another one.
Absolutely, because it was
best
breakthrough artist. Is that right?
Aye, pretty good.
Aye,
pretty mental. I'll be back, but I don't know. It's hard that it's so weird now being best breakthrough act, and I'm sitting in the house like twiddling my thumbs.
What, you breaking through? Like, there's nothing there today.
Again, fucking hell. You know what I mean? Breaking through the back door. But it's weird. It's especially even getting like the number one Scotland last year. It's just like I've not even had a chance to properly drink it in and properly sit with my mates and celebrate it or anything because we've all been locked in. But I'm sure my day will come and it'll all come flooding in it all at once.
Do you know, for me, look, if you're doing that now, when people are nigging out and there's not as much hype about music because everybody's a bit doom and gloom, I mean, when it comes back, it's only going to be bigger and better.
I know. Well, that's what I'm looking forward to most because I proved myself during the lockdown when it's like nothing remained, possible way to prove yourself. So when it's time to be out of the lockdown and out of the cage, I'm going to be a wee bit of an animal, hopefully. But just need to wait and see, man.
But I think your positive attitude shines through there because there would be people that would be getting these awards, you know, for example, the start of last year and people are saying, this is the guy to look out for, Luke La Volpe, you know what I mean, this guy's going to be huge this year. And then when it doesn't come off, I mean, it's been a challenging time for many, this lockdown in terms of mental health and, you know, people struggling. And for somebody like yourself that is at that height, like, I think there'd be guys and girls that would crumble when it doesn't quite come for them.
Didn't get me wrong, Mr. Motivator. Like recently, I've been feeling a bit down with the current situation, but you just got to remember that everybody's gone through it, and there's a lot of people worse off than you that need a lot more help. I'm happy to have roof over my head, food on the table. You know what I mean, there's people out there really struggling. So it's easy to feel down. It's easy to feel down, but you just got to keep going. There's got to end at some point. Everyone's got to end at some point.
What's the future holding for you then? What can we expect for Luke La Volpe?
Who knows, man? Who knows?
I've asked you, is there an album coming? Don't know, we'll see. What you think in the future? Who knows, mate?
Who knows? I mean, you just got to roll with the punches, see where you end up.
Love it.
I'm not going to be mystic marking anything. I'm not going to be calling anything out, but I'm just going to keep progressing, keep getting bigger, because I'm not going to go backwards. I've had plenty of times in my life where I've been sitting in the dark waiting for stuff to happen. Now, I think it was kind of the first lockdown that spurred me on, just being like, I can't sit here doing that, because I would have went downhill. Mm-hmm. So it's just work, just keep working. Just like, if any young musician coming up, if I'm saying it to them, I'd be like, just work your arse off, don't stop for anything, just keep going. Because the minute you stop, there's somebody else that's going to be working harder than you next year that's going to take what you want. So,
did you ever go back to the boss in the factory that wasn't going to give you the day off and say, look at this?
No, I don't think they like me very much, to be honest, because they're all right, they're sound. I don't think they realised how big the stuff happening was, so it's not their fault, but thanks very much for letting me go.
It's the best thing that happened.
Okay, it definitely is.
Listen, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you, and I'm hoping 2021 is a bit brighter for you. I mean, it's not looking great now, but come to the summer, the end of the year, and as you say, we get these vaccines rolled out, and I'll be coming along to your gigs. Don't worry about that.
Spot on, man. Thanks very much.
Nice one. Thanks to everyone who has listened to this episode of the podcast. Next week, I've got another Bathgate artist or another West Lothian artist speaking to Mark Sharp, who I know Luke knows very well. And
Some boy.
He's a good guy. And if you've not liked and subscribed, please do so. Thanks very much. Cheers.